Great. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're live.
All right. Great. Hail cheaters. Welcome to the Always Cheating podcast, live on YouTube for the first time. I don't think because we've done a couple pods for our Patreon supporters live, haven't we, Brandon? But I think this is the first time we've actually done a proper, unless you count, FPL After Dark is like non-canon, right? That I would consider that like one of those Star Wars movies.
Oh, sure. I'm thinking
yeah.
more of Baywatch Nights. Do you remember Baywatch Nights, where they tried to get David Hasselhoff like a job as a private investigator? Yeah, FPL After Dark for the true fans. They can find that on our YouTube channel. But yeah, this episode, as you'll hear on our audio stream, is our effort to kind of do simultaneous audio and video, so you can go and watch this episode on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/alwayscheating.
All right. Well, here we go. So without any further ado, Brandon, game week 24, 9/10 of the way through. And one of the fun things about doing this live for the first time is that you and I have very little to complain about. I mean, maybe it's more fun for us than I think for the listener. I actually think it's more fun when especially I have like a serious gripe to get off my chest. But right now I'm feeling pretty good. Not as good as you, I would say. I feel like you've had what is shaping up to be your best game week of the season so far, would you say?
Yeah, my game week rank is 598K, so that's up there. If you compare that
lower than I would have expected, honestly.
Yeah, I wonder if it was really the Gabriel goal that went against me. But if you go back and look at all of my historic game week ranks through the rest of the season, the closest I've got was 559K in game week 20. So if Cole Palmer does well against Crystal Palace tomorrow night, then I could beat that. But the fact is, I was telling you, Josh, earlier, I've had a couple of okay game weeks recently, but where I have been sort of circling the drain of 1 million overall is what matters is what you do next. And the special thing for me about game week 24 is it feels like a game week in which I've done the next thing. I've cracked into the top 1 million overall rank, according to FPLGameweek.com, is 851K. So yeah, I am ecstatic. Now, of course, we have to have some of those gripes that you mentioned, Josh.
Like you barely even finished the word ecstatic before the of course came out. It was like it might as well have been like that you put a little end dash in there, Brandon, just to like go right into the next word.
Yeah, not an ellipses. It is an end dash. So, but have you ever seen this? Like I got attacking returns from all three of my defenders, but like with Botman, the only return then he gets is his assist at 3 points. Now that's better than Dubravka owners. I accept that. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold gets his assist to start the scoring for Liverpool, and he ends on 4 points with the halftime substitution. And then Saliba gets the scoring started for Arsenal. And I think finally I'm clawing back what I lost against Gabriel owners a couple of weeks ago. And then Gabriel goes and gets his own goal. So all
it's
of
so
that
funny.
territory was
it shows our relationship that when the Gabriel goal was scored, even before I celebrated, I actually did think to myself, oh, Brandon's going to hate this. Like, he's going to be so annoyed that Gabriel scored here.
I mean, you can't blame
It was
us,
a weird one, too. No, of course not. I would have been exactly the same way. The weird thing about that goal was the cameraman got the wrong player, right?
Yeah, because Kai Havertz was
they showed Kai Havertz running down, and then suddenly you see Gabriel doing he's like on his knees, like pumping his arms, and I was like, oh wait, who actually scored on this goal?
Yeah, Gabriel is not celebrating like that if Kai Havertz is the one who scored the goal. And I think Gabriel's celebration was emblematic of FPL in that moment, because I felt this energy coming from Gabriel, that he was celebrating that he didn't want his buddy Saliba having one over on him in the locker room. He wanted to be the center back who scores goals. And
it was such a crazy first half. It was one of those it's like the fool me once, shame on me. And it was like, I don't know, it was like, give me 26 set pieces and eventually we're going to score, right? It was like they just kept giving them goal or, corner kicks and set pieces. And inevitably they were going to score. God, you just can't, no matter how good, no matter how poor a team is on scoring goals and set pieces. And Arsenal's like I don't actually don't know where they land. I would assume kind of like middle of the pack, honestly. But yeah, but it was like, eventually it was like they just got too many chances to score. So yeah, and so I think that one I felt good about that game week too. About that match. We both have Saka, and so for him to get a brace, I felt like he was kind of getting into that, like, remember like a couple years ago when Harry Kane was in this zone where he was consistently getting attacking returns, but they were in the like 6 to 9 point range every
Yeah,
single time. And like when
right.
Saka scored the second, I was like, oh right, like it's possible for him to have like a 15-point return. And so that, that felt really good. And even though his ownership's high enough, I mean, if you go to live FPL or any of these places, I mean, you can see that it was still very helpful, right? I mean, that 20-25%, I mean, when there's a lot of parity, that can make a huge difference, right? And I certainly saw
Yeah.
a rank jump as a result of that.
And going into this game week, a lot of people felt they were under pressure to get in Diogo Jota and
Yeah.
Saka. Like, to your point, he just wasn't getting those high ceiling returns. And I think a lot of managers would have dumped him for that reason. And you have like Cole Palmer to play against Palace on Monday is less likely to be transferred out just because he's such great value.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like I see in our personal mini league with our pals, I was up to like 50% ownership on, or at least I was getting 50% of
Yeah.
Saka's points, which is really quite good for a
Yeah.
premium asset at this
Yeah.
level.
Absolutely. So, yeah, why don't you share your screen though, Brandon? Just because we'll
Oh
take
yeah.
advantage of this this
Yeah. Okay. Let's.
opportunity.
Now this is where it's going to sound a little shaggy on the audio, I'm sure, because this is basically like going into a work Zoom meeting while I try to figure out which tab it is that I'm supposed to be sharing.
Okay.
Uh, well, let's try this one. All right, here we go. So here's my. You can actually see this is interesting. Where I started game week 1 at 865K, and I'm shaping up to be around 850. So this could be my best overall rank at the end of this game week since we started the season, which is really great. So 77 points is where I'm at right now. If you want to
Right.
add in the
Plus
Saka,
2. Yep.
yep, +2 for Saka. Now here you see the murderer's row of defensive attacking returns. Botman with the assist, and Newcastle's issue obviously is that they cannot keep the goals out. So you really have to have Shar right now if you're gonna. Well, actually,
Yeah.
Trippier honestly is the guy to have. I just don't really
Yeah.
see how
Was
he
it
works in the budget.
three goals for Shar though in the last 3
I know,
matches?
yeah.
Kind of insane.
Yeah, so I guess he probably has more points than Trippier over the last month. I mean, certainly he does. But Leno with 3 points, I think, was a pretty decent haul for a goalkeeper this week. My condolences to all Areola starters
Yeah.
who he ended
Areola
up.
slash Dubravka.
Yeah,
It's funny because I don't know if I've made an in-season goalkeeper transfer in probably multiple years. I mean, honestly, like maybe I did it, as a result of like an injury or something like that. But I hadn't made like an actual like rage transfer for a goalkeeper in a
yeah,
long time. And I basically did that with I moved Flecken out for Dubravka maybe 7 or 8 weeks ago. And it just only further goes to show that you just should not be messing around and wasting transfers on
yeah,
goalkeeper transfers, because it is really worked out poorly. And Flecken keeps, I don't know, must be like maybe his third clean sheet of the season and away to Wolves. And I actually don't even know if I would have started him. I probably would have talked myself into starting Areola if I still had him. But he got the 10-point performance in the Man City match as well. And it's just are there any good goals? There was actually a question from someone in the Discord about whether there are any good goalkeeper options this season, and it is really hard to find one, right?
yeah,
And you sort of, because you're talking about attacking returns from defenders, but you just even look at this weekend, right? There were 3 teams that had like a fairly good shot of keeping a clean sheet: Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. And our Arsenal were a little lower than that, but Liverpool conceded, and Man City didn't actually, although they had a couple big chances. There was an offside goal, and I like, but when that there were, I don't know if you remember this, the offside goal late, but I was like, oh,
yeah.
of
The
course,
Beto.
like I was like, of course, this is going to happen. But they did not. But they have their own problems, which is it's almost the reverse problem, where you can maybe get a clean sheet from their defenders occasionally, but you can't get any kind of attacking returns, right? And
Right.
now that Kyle Walker is this sort of risky asset, right? Like, it's just unclear if he's going to start twice in the double game week. It's just very hard, I think, to find any defenders. I mean, I suppose you did get a bonus point from Ederson. So if you started him, congrats. But I mean, does anyone have Ederson? I feel like Ederson is like, that does not feel like a move I would recommend. That it's just a little too much money.
Yeah, Ederson is kind of a naive move to the advantage of naive managers. I think if you were new to the game this season and you were looking at and you were paying attention to the double game week schedule, you'd think, hey, Ederson feels like a pretty great move. And so we're behind those naive managers, Josh, I think is what we're seeing. We'll see if City can keep it up. So my burning question looking at this defense, I don't care about goalkeepers at the moment. Leno will do fine. Is Trent Alexander-Arnold? He was taken off at halftime as yet another injury precaution. At what point does it stop becoming precautionary and it's just an injury? So I think I have to keep him. I have to roll with him into this double game week and keep my fingers crossed. And maybe because there are European fixtures midweek, that maybe we'll get some inkling from Klopp about more of what's going on there. Let's see. So Liverpool's next match is actually against Luton Town. I'm sorry. They don't have a European match. They play Brentford next weekend, so they're
right
off
because
this week. So maybe we don't.
Yeah, they have the they did well enough, right, that they advance out of the. I think the Europa League has like a round of 128 stage or something like that right now. Or it's like, it's so dumb. Like I think it's the second place finishers and the third place.
I get it though. I was doing some investigating into the World Cup 2026 and their expanded sort of program and bringing more teams into it. And how do you bring more teams in without adding additional matches for all of these club players? And the way you do that is to give the teams who qualify top of their group a bye during that round. So in that sense, it does make sense to me, even though FIFA's not going to do that actually for World Cup. They're going to just extend it by 10 days. Yeah. So, I mean, if you were me though, Josh, you'd hold on to Trent and just keep your fingers crossed.
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, well, I guess the boring answer is I would just not do anything until we got some kind of press conference update. Right. And maybe we'll get some more out of Klopp. I mean, his answer yesterday, kind of post match, and those kind of post match press conferences are always they need to be taken kind of, in some ways they can actually honestly be quite honest in those and just say, well, we took him off and we don't know. Right. And I think that was kind of effectively what he said, which is that he felt something. We've got to be cautious with him. I have a question for you about this, which is, and I guess it sort of is relevant for Liverpool generally, which is, how seriously does Klopp take this League Cup final? Like, is it something that does he really care about winning it? I'm sort of viewing this a little bit through the context of Liverpool losing that Arsenal match a couple of weeks ago, right? And so they really they're in a pretty tricky spot in terms of the, kind of top of the table. So does he, I don't know, because it feels like it's going to be tricky, right? You've got Salah coming back. You've got Trent with this knee injury. You've got even someone like Robertson, who's been sort of nursing injuries himself, kind of all season, really, with him. So you have all of these players that are various levels of injuries. You have someone like Darwin, who maybe could come off the bench in one of these matches, right? He's got this foot problem still, or he did anyway. So does he treat the midweek Luton match? Does he sort of go a little lighter in that match, right? And sort of put a little more energy, kind of save a little bit in the keep something in the holster for the League Cup final, or does he just go all out with all three matches and just play his best squad for the next three games?
If he rests anybody, it would be against Luton Town. Right. I think he takes the Chelsea League Cup final very seriously. This is his last season at Liverpool. He will
what?
yeah. In case you haven't heard,
yeah.
Welcome to 2024, Josh. You've got to get those trophies, and I think the Premier League trophy would obviously be the most perfect possible way for Klopp to end his tenure at Liverpool. But still, to have the League Cup trophy, you've got it in the cabinet. You've got the photos of him when they're doing the retrospectives at the end of the season of him lifting the League Cup. I think he's got to go for it. And it's not like Chelsea aren't there just for the taking. If they go in with the full strength lineup, it may be a 60-minute match for that full strength lineup against Chelsea. So I don't know how much risk is involved going all in on the League Cup final.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I could see Trent getting rested at the. So this is the other problem with Trent, right? Like, I almost think Trent now you're in a spot where you probably hold him if you have him, and if you don't have him, he's probably too risky to play, right? Because does he play on Saturday and Wednesday and the following Sunday, right? So does a guy with a knee injury play 3 times in 8 days when Bradley should be back, right? From bereavement leave, he should be hopefully available. Sorry if it seemed to anyone like we were making light of that last week. We really weren't. I was just sort of teasing Brandon because he was sort of making a joke about why Bradley was gone, and then we found out the
and I had no idea the reason.
Yeah,
why.
you had you had no idea. And so it was just I was
the Liverpool echo hadn't hit my mailbox yet.
Exactly, and like all friends, like all old friends, if I have an opportunity to make you look bad, I'm going to leap at it because that is one of my great pleasures in life. So, but he should be back and available, and I could just see him starting this Luton match, and we've seen this before, right? I'm trying to, I'm remembering this is several years ago now, but Liverpool were in a competitive place in the league, and they had a midweek match, possibly before the League Cup final. I can't remember, but it was Everton, right? And so you had Merseyside derby, a match where you would assume that Klopp would take it, extremely seriously, and he ended up playing a pretty weak squad in that match, and they still won. And so I do think in general that Klopp does trust his squad to beat bottom half of the table teams at Anfield, right? If this were an away match at midweek, it might be a little trickier. But so anyway, I think, but I guess to get back to your original question, I would keep Trent if you have him, like you do. But I would say if I was at all kind of getting tempted by bringing him in, I'm maybe just like, now it just feels like it's just not worth the risk, especially because they don't play in 26, right? And so it's like, to bring him in, I don't even have enough money with any of my players. I have to take him in for a hit. And then suddenly I've got something like 4 players who don't play in 26, right? Maybe possibly 5. And so it feels like a little too messy to me. And it's like, we probably just all get like a little too double game week crazy in general, right? Like I'll share how my team looks for 25 in a second. And it looks good. Like it's the kind of, like if it weren't for a double game week, I'd be in like, don't make a transfer territory. Right. And so,
which the pride before the fall here, Josh, be careful.
But I'm almost like, I'm like immediately, my point is I'm going to do something. Like I have a team that like I would look good as it is, but I'm going to screw it up because I need at least one more player for the double. I can't resist, right? So here, why don't I, before we do that though, why don't I just quickly share my team for 24 as well, so we can we can talk through it.
Go right ahead.
Oh, good.
I don't think that's kind of. I do not think that's a controversial opinion. Say if you're not a Trent owner, he's totally off the table. I think that he's going to be far from people's thoughts heading into this game week. So I agree.
Yeah.
I think maybe like it feels at this point that 6 points might be Trent's ceiling going into this game week.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd go that low. I mean, he only played 45 minutes and he could have been on 6 or 7 in that match. I mean, talk about one of the great lucky moments for me this weekend was going into the end of the match, the end of the Liverpool match. I effectively gained 4 points at the end because I don't have Darwin or Trent, and they were both on for 2 points apiece going into the very end of that match. I don't know if you saw that, but they both lost them right at the end when was it Taverner got a point, and maybe Harvey Elliott.
Yeah, Trafford is the goalkeeper's name.
Trafford, of course. Yeah. That's a test which you've passed. Well done. All right.
Yes. So, not the Bournemouth midfielder, Tavernier.
Yeah,
I win.
So,
All right, what do you got? I'm
yeah,
looking
what do
at
we
your
got?
team
Okay, so
right now.
I'm at 70 plus. You can tack on 2 extra points for Saka here. Still have Palmer to go. So very similar team to yours, just with fewer points in the defense. And I suppose I dodged a bullet. There was I was very seriously considering a -4 for either Van Dijk or possibly going for Doughty, the man of the hour, right? Doughty was sort of everybody the last like 24 hours or so before the deadline was leaning towards him, especially once they announced the double game week for Luton Town in 28. And I ultimately didn't just decided I'd risk it with Robinson. And I only got 2 points from him, but a -4 for Doughty would have cost me 3 points. So I'll take that as a small win, right? Because he would have had 1 point in the match. Nothing from Dubravka again, just real disaster keeper wise. But I don't know what to do there. There's kind of nobody that I feel like getting. Porro to me is actually one of the big problems I feel like in my squad, because it just seems like now that Madison is back, he's just off all set pieces. Basically, he's just not really, he's an excellent player. I really like Porro, and plays 90
Doesn't he take all
consistently.
the corner kicks though, Porro?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is Madison taking some now again too, or is Porro
I
still on all
think
the
like at
corners?
least the
Yeah.
match prior to this weekend when Madison was back and they had starting 11, Porro took all the corners.
I don't know. I'm just like, maybe it's just the fact that the Spurs can't keep clean sheets and he's blanked.
That seems like the
so
root of
many
the problem.
times. Well, yeah, but it's just like as long as I'm getting some kind of attacking returns from him. But the way they've kind of reformed with Werner and Madison, it doesn't feel like. And maybe Werner becomes more of a bench option now with Son back. I don't know, but like I just really don't feel like I'm getting anything from Porro. He's not even really getting close to getting attacking returns from me. It cost almost 6 million, and so it's just and he doesn't play in Gameweek 26. So there's just really not a lot of reason for me to kind of hold on to him, going forward. And so, I may move Porro on this weekend. Again, I actually don't, because Trent is so ludicrously expensive. Even if I wanted to bring him in, I couldn't do it. So, so I've got Porro. Gabriel did come through like Saliba for you. It has to be a rare match where you have two defenders that score a goal and keep a clean sheet and don't get a single bonus point, right? That feels like a very uncommon,
Yes.
uncommon result. But yeah, so then I turned Odegaard into Jota, which was a net -3. But I would have made that move. I feel like even without the double. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I would have made it necessarily without the double because Salah is coming back. But I don't hate that move, right? It cost me 3 points, but it does give me another double game week player for 25. I don't know about you. I was not expecting a 6-0 thrashing of West Ham on the away. Like
Yeah.
that was a slightly. I was not. I mean, sure. Like, did I think Arsenal could or should win that match? Yes. Did I think they would annihilate West Ham? I mean, it's like at some point, like West Ham's counterattacking style started to feel kind of like as the goals were pouring in. It was like, I don't know, maybe you have to shift your strategy here a little
Certainly
bit.
when you lose all of your attacking assets, namely Paqueta and Bowen really has no kudos coming back from AFCON should have helped. And I guess that was what Moyes was expecting. But, also if you've got Moyes as your manager, you think you'd at least have the Scottish tenacity in the locker room to stop an utter capitulation through just like threats of violence or something like that. And he couldn't even impress that upon West Ham against Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal's mentality has been, it wavers. They've been excellent the last 2 years, but I feel like they still have that sort of like Arsenal mentality that can waver from time to time. So to see them do that and put West Ham to the sword so quickly and easily is, I don't know, it's a bigger indictment of West Ham, I guess.
Well, I think it was an impressive result for Arsenal too. I mean, the like you said, the trick has been for them to kind of maintain this level of tenacity, right? Which has not always been something that they're able to do. But just FPL wise, I think I mean we're sort of bearing the lead in some ways here. I mean, we got so we both got points from defender. Saka came through. Jota, whatever, 7-pointer had even more chances. Certainly.
Oh yeah, who did we captain in the end? Both of us. Good question.
Right. Exactly. So we captained Haaland. It was an opportunity still where even though his ownership is creeping higher and higher, his effective ownership was still only around 140, 150%, right? So it was almost like getting double returns from him, right? In terms of how much it helped you in the rankings. And so, yeah, it's 2 goals from him. I believe they only had 2 shots on target the entire match, as well. So 2 goals and 2 shots on target. I think Everton had 1. So it was kind of an unusual match. I stuck to my guns and I did set an alarm for 5:40. However, I was so anxious about whether I would actually wake up or not that I kept waking up at like 4:30, 4:45. It was so annoying. And again, this is why, and I don't want to actually do a whole
let's do a
rant.
leaks segment, Josh.
No, we're not going to do a leaks. We're not going to do.
that.
We're not going to do a leaks. We're not going to do a leak segment. It's not going to happen. But just make the deadline a minute before the match kicks off, and then we all don't have to do this thing where these accounts, all the leaking accounts, by the way, are the most they're the most short-tempered defensive people too. Like these, they're like, not only do we get leaks from them, but we also get lectures from them as well. And it's like, dude, you're like a 20-year-old intern at the Man City, and somehow you got a hold of it. Like these people are, it's not like, these aren't getting leaked from like executives who are like running the Premier League, right? It's like these 20-year-olds who get this stuff and then they lord it over all of us. And it's humiliating. I hate it, and it's so dumb. And it's like, just let us see at least the first team. And then I could set an alarm for 7:25 and I'd have the same team sheet as everybody else. I know that there are later matches, and ideally what you would do is just have rotating deadlines the way they do in something like NFL fantasy. It's really not that hard to pull off. And if they would just invest a little more in infrastructure, this wouldn't be a problem. But even if you wanted to have at least just one deadline that was a minute before the first match, it would solve a lot of problems, right? At least we'd all have access to that first clean sheet. It's just so dumb, this hanging around. And I don't know how you can argue that you can get away with not doing it, because there were some huge leaks that came out, right? I mean, KDB not starting, Kyle Walker not starting, Alvarez starting. These are all really important things to know, right? And it was leaked on Twitter 15 minutes before the deadline. And so, I mean,
more leaks, Josh, than me at the office urinal when I've worn some khaki slacks. It always, these leaks happen when you least like them to. Keep going. No, this is exactly what I wanted. Clear the lane. So you finish your thought.
Well, no, it's just, and so again, part of me is like, it's a broken record. Nothing's going to change. But I also, there's a part of me that's just a little more positive. I'm like, well, yes, with that attitude, nothing's going to change. But if enough people, like the FPL general was going on about this morning, yesterday as well. Right. And, we had this, a couple of years ago, there really were problems with leaks, and they did change the deadline. Right. It was like they went from 60 to 90. I think they made the wrong move there. I think they should have just done a minute before the match deadline. But ultimately, basically, it's like people have just they fixed, it's been fixed. I shouldn't even say fixed. It's been gamed, right? The 90-minute deadline has now been gamed, just like the 60-minute one was in the past, right? So we need. I think there needs to be a fix, and so it's incumbent, I think, and I don't want to. And again, I'll stop after this, but it's incumbent on us to kind of keep pushing for a change, right? Because I actually don't think maybe there's no way for it to ever be fair, but I also, I think it's worth trying to keep broaching this a little bit. They need to find a way to fix this. And the idea that they're a little asleep at the wheel is just not a good look, in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this or not.
I woke up apropos of nothing. I had not committed to checking in on any leaks, and I just happened to wake up as people do. Maybe it was, some higher power touching me, and I turned my phone, hit the lock screen. It was 5:30 on the dot, and I was like, ooh, and I could not resist popping online and seeing what the news was. And it was all Foden and Haaland starting. Bingo. That was all that was really relevant to me. So it's quite straightforward, and it was all prelude to what is actually far more interesting, is Haaland actually getting back to Haaland of roughly a year ago.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was not the first goal that he scored, which was, some bit of fortune for the ball to break to him. It was an incredible finish on his non-traditional right foot, but it was the second goal which gave me flashbacks to a fit De Bruyne and a fit Haaland at the start of last season, where Haaland breaks the line, De Bruyne's pass breaks the line, and Haaland just explodes, Braithwaite like he's in some sort of atom smasher and puts it on his left for an elegant finish over the goalkeeper. So I thought it was kind of silly just prior to that moment to even consider triple captain for Erling Haaland going into game week 25. And just seeing that, you have to actually give it a little bit of thought now.
Well, I know. I mean, this is where we are. So I guess we can just get right into it, Brandon, which is, are you planning to, and I'm going to pull up just as we're talking here, I'm going to share my game week 25 squad just, before I've made any transfers, just so we have something to look at besides our beautiful faces on the screen here, Brandon. So, are you currently planning to triple captain Erling Haaland for 25?
No, not at this time. And I don't know why. I don't know why.
Like, it's a reverse. Like, you totally zigged when I thought you were going to zag. That's
interesting content. That's how it's made. Just a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I wouldn't. I guess the reason why you wouldn't triple captain Haaland is that you believe there will be a better opportunity in the future. And this is, I don't know if it's procrastination, if it's some form of optimism. Now, one form of optimism is just like, hey, I think Haaland's going to haul in 25. I'm going to triple captain him. And the other version of optimism is, hey, Haaland will always haul, and I will always have this moment. But here we are. We have 2 home fixtures. Chelsea's defense is trash. Apologies to anyone who cares about that. And Brentford are in a pretty good run of form right now.
But their defense is so
I
trash.
don't think it has anything to do with the renaissance of Flecken. So
no, and like Wolves, I mean, I don't know what the XG was for Wolves in that match, but I mean, they certainly had their chances. It was a little. I mean, they did score 1 goal, right? It was like one of those marginally offside goals.
Very, very marginally, yes.
Yep.
So I guess based on what I have just said, I should be triple captaining Haaland, and I guess I don't have a. What's the reason to not do it? I would pose to you.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if he started and played 90 in the Champions League match, I think it's on Tuesday, maybe there's a chance he doesn't play twice.
Right, they're away Copenhagen, just for the record.
Away Copenhagen in the Champions League round of 16. So, even then, it feels like it's a Tuesday match. He probably, I mean, because he's fully rested, right? It's not like it's not like it's a muscle injury or something, right? I don't know how much risk there is of re-aggravation of this kind of ankle injury from playing too much. I think it's more like for what Pep described, it was more like a pain. Like KDB has a hamstring.
It was on the bone, not the muscle, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was on the bone. Yeah, right. Yeah. Like KDB has a hamstring problem, right? That is the kind of thing that can be aggravated by overuse, right? And so that is why he's a little more likely to be substituted off or come on, come off early and things like that. So for me, I have not actually gone ahead and actually done the triple captain, the bus team triple captain yet. I always get scared because I mean, I know you can turn it off, but it's like, should I do it?
Well,
I've just done it. Oh my God.
Wow.
The
That's
triple
extreme,
captain
dude.
It's been saved. You can see the white C. I have put my money where my mouth is, Brandon. Triple captain on Erling.
I'm feeling
Haaland.
Something right now.
I'm
buzzing.
Me too. That's an exciting moment for. No, I'm going to keep it. I saved it and everything, Brandon.
Your voice is quivering.
So I think that I do. Okay, so here's my squad though, right, for 26. I mean, okay, so Dubravka, whatever. I mean, what am I going to do there? Like, I'm sure he's going to concede, but like, it's home to Bournemouth.
It's done.
We now have the Gordon situation, right, where he is completely fine, and I don't really understand this like debate over whether or not we can call Eddie Howe a liar. Like, he is a liar.
Debate, yes,
like,
yeah.
It's not a debate.
It's been like, well documented, yeah.
It's a legitimate debate over whether it's a problem that he lies. Like, I will happily discuss that, and whether there's like a whether it's a concern that Eddie Howe doesn't tell the truth. As far as I can tell, that is fine. Actually, you can just say literally anything you want
Sure.
with no consequences, and you can quite literally lie, and it's fine. So listen. If the system isn't going to punish Howe, then I'm not going to. Here in the Always Shooting podcast,
You know
Brendan.
what you're not allowed to do in press conferences, right, is slag off the referees. So you can't say, "Oh, that ref
That's
was
true.
terrible." So I
Yeah.
wonder if Eddie Howe could use this lying thing to his advantage, and he could just say, "Oh, the referees were the best. That was the best refereeing display I've ever seen." And you know me, Eddie Howe, I never lie. And then they can't find him. They can't find him for anything.
Yeah, yeah. So Gordon, at least I didn't start Gordon because he did start and play 90 and blank in that one. But it actually, in some ways, makes decisions a little bit easier for me this week, right? Because I don't have to solve an injured player problem, right? So looking at my squad, the moves that would make some sense to me here are honestly the only one that I really love would be Watkins to Darwin or Ivan Toney. Otherwise, what other moves am I making that are so good? I mean, I guess a Stupinon could turn into a Liverpool defender or something like that, but it's Sheffield away. I mean, it's really quite a good fixture for him, right?
Mhm.
So that is it really worth dropping a Stupinon for a -4 for Sheffield away? I don't feel great about that one. Gabriel, Burnley away. That to me, I mean, Arsenal is surely going to have one of the best clean sheet possibilities going into 25. So I don't love dropping him for. I mean, again, it's not that I wouldn't drop Gabriel for a hit, but if I dropped another keeper for a hit, I would effectively not be starting him, right? So it's kind of the same idea. Pedro Porro, Wolves at home. What I mean, again, it's like sure I could move him to I mean a Liverpool defender I don't feel great about because I do think that Brentford have a good chance of scoring a goal right in that Saturday match. And Man City, it's like who do I pick? I guess well, I mean I couldn't even bring one in right unless I made some other changes on my squad. And I have this trio, right? They're all clustered over here on the left side of my screen, Brandon. I've got
I see him.
Alvarez, Holland, and Foden. And my feeling now is I just keep all three and I just kind of take my chances because Alvarez, I don't know, he probably won't start one of those two matches. Is
Maybe
Alvarez
he
going to
does. He does. He's always starting. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. I saw somebody on Twitter say that yesterday. It was like Alvarez is a lock, and nobody wants to believe it. And it kind of like, what can we say, right? I mean, how few matches has he? I mean, going back, I
I
mean,
don't think
Alvarez
he's
has
missed a single
not.
start.
Yeah, he is. Alvarez has started literally every single game this season. So suddenly we're just sure that he's only going to start one of two. There's no chance he doesn't start both, right? Like, there's no way that Alvarez would come to the bench in two consecutive matches. That just feels impossible to me, right? So, yeah. So I just don't
I
know.
know who's not starting in his place, and that is Nunes, the the transfer from Wolverhampton. What's his
Oh,
Mateus Nunes?
Mateus
Have
Nunes.
you
Yeah, yeah,
seen a worse midfield display? It was like, dude, you got
yeah.
to start. This is your chance. Like you're no. Apparently, Pep doesn't like you. Nobody likes you here, and he does that with the 60 minutes that he's given against Everton.
It's
It
just
was like hilarious.
it's just odd, and I think it's like Calvin Phillips too. It's like it's like sort of sometimes Peps. It's like they just want to spend some money, right? And it's like they just. I mean, I guess they're buying some depth, and you never really know, right? I mean, I guess John Stones was like a kind of a huge flop when he first joined Man City and turned into a great asset. But so anyway, just looking at the squad though. Watkins, it's not that I'm dying to even drop him, right? Because I think that if I remember correctly, his game week 20, right? I mean, they play Forest and Luton in 26 and 27, but it feels a little too tame to me to not do something there. The other move that I could make, which is not like which I could consider would be to move Jamal Lascelles, who's injured, or quasi injured. I guess he did make this. Who even knows with Newcastle now, right? But I could move Lascelles to like a Virgil van Dijk. I have enough money to make that move, and then I would just bench Watkins, and so then I'd have 5 double game weekers, but I would only have, and then I guess I'd just play Alvarez and Holland up front. But then I wouldn't have Toney or Darwin, which which is fine on one level,
Yeah.
but was kind of like it feels a little nerve wracking to go into
Yeah.
those two matches without having either of those two forwards, considering the ceiling is pretty high, I'd say, for both of them. I mean, Darwin, what do we think about Darwin now? He scores a goal, gets the yellow card. I mean, it's just a classic Darwin match, right?
Yeah. Nothing's changed.
Yeah,
Nothing's changed. Darwin is you're getting into a race car with no seatbelt, basically,
yeah,
um, and it'll be a thrill. It's very dangerous. That's really all you can say.
yeah.
I feel like our enthusiasm for Darwin over the last, say, like 3 weeks, I think gets a little tempered by the Burnley match to be like, yes, like
Yeah.
still we've been trying to fight through this narrative about Darwin, and we're still at the same place.
Well, I'm gonna
Um,
stop. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Yeah,
yeah.
let's see what Brandon Shane Kelly's team looks like for game week 25.
Well,
The
I guess that's a
Shaniac,
good.
as you like to call yourself.
Yeah, doing this for all my fellow Shaniacs out there. I think I'll do the sort of turnabout that I did with the Holland triple captain, in that I'm saying Darwin feels reckless, to use a word from our YouTube chat just now. That's the move that I think I'm going to make, is going to be Watkins to Darwin. So I'm there are a couple of reasons why I don't love the Darwin transfer. I think the main reason is that is then I have 5 people who blank in game week 26, whereas
Right,
now I have
right.
4, and if I keep it, and that includes Kabore, who is not seeing any minutes for Luton Town right now. If I don't move in a Liverpool player, then I can transfer my way to a full strength team in the blank in game week 26. That doesn't seem very sort of like um,
MFFA.
optimal.
Oh,
It
optimal.
doesn't. Yeah,
Okay,
it
yeah.
doesn't feel fun, for one. And listen,
Hmm.
I'm in a position where I'm not trying to defend some lead that I have in fantasy. I need more points,
Right.
and the double game week is really our opportunity to
Yeah,
do that,
exactly.
because there aren't
Exactly.
really any breakout foreign players right now that we can use. So I think I will commit to burning points to sort of rearranging my team for the blanks in 26, and get Darwin in for Watkins. So Watkins is interesting. Let's see if you can see his fixtures coming up are decent enough. I mean, to transfer him out for a match at the Cottage, Fulham are playing pretty well at the Cottage right now. I think their result against Bournemouth was pretty solid and pretty emphatic. A team like Bournemouth, who are well managed, well set up, and have had a decent track record against Fulham, just couldn't really do much against them. Uh, and then Forest and Luton, I guess, are the 2 fixtures that kind of frighten me for not having Watkins. So maybe Watkins just comes back for game week 26. Maybe that's the way
Right.
to
I guess
play it.
I guess that's the other way to think about it, right? It's like we're all like, "Oh my god, what do we do with Watkins?" And but so he can come back, and yeah, I guess that is the question. It's just how much do we want to target? Because I do think that it's a real balance, and I actually don't think there's like a really like easy answer to this question, which is do you know, can you overplay the double game weeks? Sure. Can you um focus too much on flexibility, right? And having not having to like burn points down the line and sort of like have a lot of flex. I guess I mean flexibility in terms of like not being kind of in a corner, right? Where you've got like you're saying 5 players who don't play in
Yeah,
26 and you've got
right.
to deal with that. Yes, I think you can worry about that too much as well. It's really like a team dependent thing. I think that the Trent issue is definitely a problem, right? If he actually is out for the week, then you're probably gonna just have to take a hit this week. And I think that is probably inevitable. I think. What do you think about like? I mean, have you considered any Luton players? Did you get caught up in the Luton hype storm this week? You must have. I mean, we all considered Doughty at one point, didn't we? Like it was how could we not? So
I love
tempting.
Doughty. I mean, Doughty has been a pick for more than a month at this point.
Yeah.
He has been generating chance after chance for Luton, and
That's
then
you've
he
almost brought him in a
generated.
couple times, haven't you?
Yeah, I can't remember who I ultimately picked up way
Let's
back
assume it was
when.
somebody really good, but
I
yeah,
think it was like Pau
yeah.
Torres, maybe
Oh,
Botman.
your POW obsession is the whole year actually has been about you like whether you can get away with get away from Pau Torres or not. It's been tricky.
It has been tricky, but I think Doughty remains a good pick. I mean, even though we got nothing, owners got nothing from the Sheffield United match from Doughty, he was true to the hype. He generated 9 chances, which I think was a record for a single player in the Premier League this season.
Yeah.
His ball delivery is incredible.
Now, granted, they're going from Sheffield at home to Man United and Liverpool, so certainly trickier. I mean, Man United, a nice win from them today. I think I was thinking about them earlier and how I mean, they have so many supporters, right? I'm sure even people listening to the pod, watching the stream, like there's got to be there's Man United supporters everywhere, Brandon. Probably inside
Sure.
this and inside on my Brooklyn street, I bet there are a number of Man United supporters. That's how
Not
popular they
far
are.
from you is a Sheffield Wednesday supporter too. So
That's true.
to
Yeah.
police your Sheffield
They are legion. Yeah.
non-Sheffield
Yeah.
United talk.
But it's just funny because I think, at least speaking personally, I think I was tripled up on Man United to start the season. They got chance after chance after chance. And then right around game week 10 is when we all almost across the board decided, oh yeah, I am not going to have any of them. I hate them, at least fantasy wise, and I don't want any of their players ever again. And I'm still in that mode. Like, it almost doesn't matter how many goals they score. It's like I can't quite bring myself to even. And now, of course, they're really off the table because they're not an interesting team in terms of double game weeks or right. They haven't really been like a super relevant team. But I mean, we have to shout out their forward who's
Rasmus Højlund.
Rasmus Højlund. Exactly. I always forget because it's too close to Holland, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Højlund has now scored in his last 5 matches, including double-digit returns in 21 and 22. So, he's played quite well, and I mean, he's kind of. I know how big a fan you are. I mean, I don't know if he's quite graduated to your boy territory yet, Brandon. But if he's not your boy, he's your infant, right?
He's a baby boy.
He's on the way. He's your baby boy. He's on the way there. So maybe we need to start thinking about them, a little more. Just kind of keep. I mean, I know that some people have started to make like Garnacho is I think a very a player worthy of consideration, obviously, right? He's 4.9 million. It looks really good in every match that he plays, has double-digit returns, and I think 2 of his last 6 matches. So, he's on the table moving forward. And they did play away to Luton in 25. It's just like, I don't know, like if you were going to bring in, it doesn't feel like the right week for someone like Garnacho because you could get a Luton player, right? You get Ross Barkley for I think the exact same price, and that's just a little more fun, right? Because you would get 2 doubles from him in the next 4 weeks. But I don't even really know why I'm going on about Man United. It's just like I think me right now talking for 90 seconds on Man United is the longest you and I have talked about Man United since probably November of 2023. So
there was
good win today.
There was a moment at the end of the Villa match where Højlund took off his top and gave it to a Manchester United kid, and who happened to be in a wheelchair, and he was wearing a scarf that had Garnacho, a picture of Garnacho's face on the scarf, and I don't know why, but I felt so certain that Højlund thought that it was a picture of him on that kid's scarf. And that's why he gave him his top. So
I think
let's investigate that.
Maybe he loves Garnacho. I don't know. Like maybe they've got like a amazing connection. Wouldn't that be cool if like Højlund and Garnacho were like inseparable off the pitch? Like I want that to be true.
Who wasn't it? Was it Jota and Neves at Wolves who just hung out at the local tea shop in Wolverhampton together? And
it was Jota and Neves. It was they found a little Portuguese tea shop. This is many years ago, but it's such a beautiful image of the two of them just hanging out at this little tea shop. All right, Brandon.
Just to round out my team and my thinking, last night, which would have been Saturday night, I had exact money to do Solanke to Darwin. That would have been the most elegant move because I think Solanke's form is perhaps more questionable than Watkins at the moment, and his fixtures are I guess just not as appealing with Newcastle City just in the immediate future.
Right. They have
Game
a
week
double in
29 and the
28.
double for Solanke feels far away, given all these decisions that we have yet to come.
It's
But
true.
I now have to take a hit if I want to turn Solanke into Darwin. So I think
Yeah.
the more elegant move is Watkins, and I think that really does sound fun. I'm going to preach
Okay.
the gospel of fun with Darwin Nunes going into game week 25.
Okay. What about
if we do hear, Josh,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
Alexander-Arnold is out this week, I will burn 4 and turn him into Doughty.
Okay. What about Ivan Toney though? Is there any thought to Toney instead of Darwin? Because I think you can make a. I mean, he outscored Darwin this week. His fixtures are worse for 25, for sure. Yeah, Liverpool, Man City, but he feels like a player where it doesn't really matter as much, right? Like I think of him as a slightly fixture. Obviously, all things considered, you'd rather play the easier team, but no chance of rotation, right? Going to play the full 90 in both these matches, whereas Darwin has a little bit of rotation risk. But possibly even more importantly, right, is that Darwin doesn't play in 26 and Ivan Toney does play in 26 away to West Ham. West Ham team just conceded 6 goals to Arsenal. So he plays in 26, right? So that means that if you are not planning to hold Darwin long term, then you are
true.
banking a -4, right, for Darwin out. So the question is, how confident are we that Darwin outscores Toney by 4 points in game week 25? I would say I don't feel super confident in that. And I don't know how anyone could like be that in love. Oh gosh, I just realized now that you're a Canadian, I'm seeing your Fubo all over the all over your match,
yeah, baby,
where the matches
Fubo
are.
TV for the win.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Wow, I mean, why even show it if they're all in the same? I think it's not like spread
Great
around.
question.
Yeah, you just have Fubo, and then you can just have like the little parenthesis, like Ibid, or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, but I think that Toney. Okay, let's talk about floors and ceilings here. Okay, so the floor for Darwin, I would say is like 3 points, right? That'd be 2 blanks and a yellow card in one of those matches, or maybe coming on late. The ceiling is pretty high. I'd say the ceiling is let's give him 5 and 1, and let's give him 11 and another. I don't know. Let's give him 16 points as a ceiling. That's just like a random kind of 8 points in each match. Let's say 16 points. So 3 to 16 points. That's his range there. Okay, so let's look at Ivan Toney. Floor is 4 points, right? You could even argue that it's higher because I could just see him getting a tackle return in one of these two matches. But let's keep that low floor too. So floor is 4 points. I think he can get at least a goal in one of these two matches, and if he can do that, I think he could get a couple of bonus points as well in one of those matches, right? So let's give him 4 additional points plus 2 on top of that, and then let's just throw in like a bonus assist as well, just because it's possible. So I think that gets him to 15 points. All right. So
I love the accounting. You are never doing my taxes, Josh, ever.
Well, no, actually, no. That's 4 plus 3 plus 2. I'm not going to give him another assist. That's 9. So on top of the 4 from before.
But here's something you can. Add.
Yeah,
something you can add is he actually has an extra game week. It's almost like he has a triple game week because Darwin doesn't play.
Exactly. So now that I did my math here, as you can see on my notebook, Brandon. So the range for Darwin, 3 points to 16 points. The range for Toney is 4 points to 13 points, right? Okay. So if they were both to hit their ceiling, you would prefer to have Toney over Darwin because that's a savings of 1 point, right? Now, of course, whether he's more likely to hit his ceiling or not, I don't know. But I don't know. I just think it's
that's for you to. That's for the rest of you to figure out.
Yeah, I do think that Darwin probably starts both matches. I think that he is a slightly better option than Ivan Toney. However, there's no way for me to. I guess I don't. I mean, okay, just like strip. Do you want Darwin long term? Like, I really don't enjoy. Really. Having him in fantasy. I think that it's a miserable experience. I mean, I'm just not enough of a data head is what it comes down to, right? I mean, like the data heads are like he shoots and shoots and shoots, and that's what I want in a player. For those of us who care about watching these matches and making some kind of like eye test assessment. It's just absolutely maddening, right? Because yes, I can see all the good stuff, but I also just see him psych himself out and overhit and just sort of like get in over his skis, constantly, where he just stresses himself out and just kind of right. Like I hope he never takes a pen again, for example, right? It's just not he gets too
That's
amped up.
the missed pen is kind of a dagger into the double game week, I think,
Yeah.
because what Tony has is guaranteed pens, and he is excellent at converting them. And Darwin, you have a question mark over whether he takes the next pen for Liverpool, for all the reasons that you just outlined. If Darwin had made that pen 2 game weeks ago, then you would feel more certain that he would take the next one, even convert
Yeah.
it, and it gets him closer into it gets him farther ahead from Tony in this debate.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that I'm going to spend a couple more days thinking about it. I think that I I kind of want. I don't know. I just think it's tricky. I suppose I ultimately kind of do want Darwin, but I really don't want to be in a position where I add yet another player that I'm going to have to drop
Yeah.
in 26. And so I think for me, I'm probably going to get one more Liverpool player, but probably not two, because the situation for me right now is that if I bring in two Liverpool players, right? So I have three Liverpool players. That means I've got three. So that's three players who don't play in 26, plus Cole Palmer, right? So that's four, plus Pedro Porro, that's five, plus Jamal Lascelles, right? Because I can't count on him starting either. So that's six. So I'm down six players that don't play in 26. If I bring in two Liverpool players. If I bring in one, I'm still at five, which isn't great. So it actually is an argument for just going ahead and taking a -4, right? Because might as well just get another double game week player and and then just sort of
Hmm.
give myself like a chance basically to kind of get a huge match from somebody, right? Like maybe I bring in Van Dyke and he scores a header or something like that. I don't know. I think okay. So we're talking about like the big names here. Is there anybody who's a little under the radar, like somebody that we think that we're just not really talking enough about? Like one player that comes to mind is Luis Diaz, who
Yeah.
had a 3 bonus point performance. I thought he had some really nice moments in the match. He's another fun player. He's kind of like he might be my MFFA player of the week, Brandon, because he's just sort of
Okay.
I just love the every time he scores a goal, it's like this side of him comes out, this kind of like a
Yeah, he
fire
loves it.
breathing.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's an easy player to root for sure.
Yeah, and I like that Jota, Diaz, and Darwin all scored against
Yeah.
Burnley. It's just
Good. Yeah. Good for hashtag what drama hashtag something.
it
Why am
was
I why do everybody
dramatic.
saying hashtag so much? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, you just discovered social media. It's fine. That's cool. I think that he got drowned out by all the Jota talk, and
Yeah.
I think the issue also with Darwin is you say, I'm not Darwin, with Diaz is you say, where am I going to put him? Especially if
Yeah.
you already have Jota. So Saka, a City midfielder, whether it's De Bruyne or Foden, plus the immovable object that is Cole Palmer, that
Right.
I don't even this is like I have told everyone who has asked me, should I bench Palmer? I have told them never bench this man. I will consider benching him in game week 25, though
Of course.
I don't think I
Really?
will.
I,
No.
that's wild. I mean, I'm not only am I considering benching him, I'm considering just straight up dropping him because he doesn't play in 26 either. I mean,
So
man,
there would be the
yeah,
reason to if you could turn Palmer into Luis Diaz, that's a very interesting move, I think.
yeah, which I could, and so that would be one possibility as well. Would just go that route again. It just it feels like is it too clever? That's the only worry, right? Is it's
Yeah.
like Darwin's right there, even Toney is right there, and then I'm kind of going with Diaz. Like it's sort of I don't know. What about like anyone else? Like there are no other Brentford players besides Dave and Tony, right? That we would consider.
Or what are we going to talk about Norgard here? I don't
Yeah.
see that happening. Let's see. I'm gonna let me actually bring up a screen of the Brentford players, and we can do just like
Yeah.
a quick shopping trip there.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Vamp for me, Josh.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say shout out to the Russell Crowe comparison that I got in the comments, Brandon.
What? Okay.
Yeah, no, you should. You should be saying that more often, Brandon, because that is something that I should be cultivating more. I need to perform my own version of 30 odd foot of grunts. That's the remember 30 odd foot of grunts, the Russell Crowe bar bands that I used to bring that up
Was
all
it
the
grunts or
time.
grunt? A singular grunt.
I
Is
think
the
it was
third.
I think it was with an S, but I don't know. We'll look that up later.
Yeah. Yeah, let's look it up later. Well, fair enough, Mister Angry Guy in a Car. That was the last Russell Crowe movie, right? Where he was just like a road rage guy. Do you suffer from road rage?
He was in the Pope's Exorcist. That was I still actually want to see that. Actually, that looks like a fun movie.
All right, check out these Brentford players. That was some excellent vamping there, Josh. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So we've got Mbomo not fit. I guess Mateus Jensen is the midfielder who I guess has put up the best fantasy points, but the returns are few and far between. He's had 1 assist since game week 12.
Yeah.
So
get that off my screen. It's hideous. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nobody, right? I mean, there's let's just make it very simple. There's nobody. I mean, the problem is the only double again. This goes back to 26 and how your team is set up. But the only double game weekers that play in 26 are the Man City ones, right? Luton don't play, Chelsea don't play, and obviously Liverpool don't play either. And so I think that does create a huge dilemma, right? Because I mean, Luton at least is a little more acceptable, I think, because you're getting that bonus double, right? So it's if you bring in Ross Barkley or Alfie Doughty, yeah, you create a little problem for yourself in 26, but then you do have home Villa in 27. So, like it would have been a worse fixture 10, 15 weeks ago, but now I think that's okay. They could possibly win that given their improved form. Palace away. I mean, Palace have just decided they're going to basically, I don't even really know, just kind of write it out and hope they don't get I mean, like it's a weird whatever's going on there, right? We'll see. We'll see how they look tomorrow. And then and then they have I mean, and then the Palace away was one of 2 matches in the double for 28, right? Palace away, Bournemouth away. So I think that Ross Barkley is a player that I would consider. He's just shooting so much, right? He's available for cheap. Has had a nice run, 3 attacking returns in his last 5 matches. So 2 goals and 2 assists for him. Only 3 goals and 4 assists on the season, but he didn't really play much until about midway through the season. That's when he sort of locked in a spot in the starting 11. I mean, Ross Barkley is sort of infamously a real extreme high, extreme low type of player, right? Like can have a couple of absolute stand-up matches and then just blanks for 10 weeks in a row, right? Like, I mean, he's been in the Premier League for a long, long time, Brandon. I mean, going back, he was getting minutes as far back as 2011, 2012, which I think is the first year you and I actually started doing, I guess maybe it was 10, 11.
10, 11,
doing, but so going all the way back to then, and then he, and then he kind of disappeared for a while, but he's had some moments. He got double-digit assists back in 16, 17. And you were telling me earlier, you remember every single one of those 11 assists in 16, 17, which is incredible.
I don't know if you want to in my mind. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go through them one by oh yeah. Oh, if it's constantly playing in your mind, I don't want you to have to relive that. So let's not.
Yeah, I have a trauma basically. The body keeps the score, especially when all you think about are Ross Barkley.
It's a haunting expression. I wish you didn't use it all of the time, but I think that it's
the case I'd make for Ross Barkley is the one I made to myself about Thomas Souček months ago. Was going back to the whole benching of Cole Palmer. When you have when you're faced with benching dilemmas every game week deadline, it's good to have a 5th midfielder who is good for something, but you don't totally respect. And that's Thomas Souček for me. Like him as a player, but I don't totally respect him as a fantasy asset. But I'm not mad when he works his way into my starting 11 or comes off the bench. Same with Ross Barkley. And that frees your mind up to not have to constantly question, do I start a player like Cole Palmer, who gets into this form. So I like that I like a guy like Ross Barkley who alleviates you of benching headaches and non-double game weeks.
Yeah, that's fair. And my squad, I have a little bit of a, just because of various injuries and things like that. I have a kind of I have starting caliber players in my 11. I think partially because of the AFCON, like when Son and Salah left, right? We all had a little extra money to spread around our squad. So, all right, Brandon. Well, I think I kind of want to start looking a little ahead here. I do want to actually shout out quickly because we got some new Patreon supporters this week. So here, just so that you don't have to look at our faces the entire time here, Brendan, I'm going to share the fixtures for Game Week 25 so that everybody can remember what that looks like. All right, so we have, but before we do that, Brendan, I want to quickly shout out. We started the Premier League, non-Premier League kit contest on Saturday. So that was our kickoff, our second half league for new patrons. I don't know where you and I are doing that. We've got to be doing okay. You might be near the top. You're having a spectacular start. So congrats to you.
Good time to do well, right?
Yeah. But I did want to shout out David Paul, JT, JP. These are two different people, Brandon. We rarely get initials like this. I even looked it up. I was like, nope, we have a JT and a JP who became new Patreon supporters this week, as well as Timu Puki. Now, I'm going to assume that that's not a fake name, Brian. That's the actual Timu Puki.
Did he join at the Timu Puki tier, of which we do have?
I can't remember that, but his email address was timu@puki.com. So let's assume that he was
the whole Puki family has their
real
own domain
deal.
name. I forgot about that.
So, but anytime we get patrons this late in the season is really is great because obviously it's what you tend to get around this time of the year is you get a lot of rage quitting, Brandon. You see it in the Discord, a lot of sayonara's like, oh, it's been fun. See you guys in August. So the second half league, everyone was kind of excited about it, and there were some great kits that were shared on the Discord too. So you can still see those if you want to support the podcast. You can go to patreon.com/alwayscheating to do so. There's a bunch of different pledge levels, and that gets you access to the Discord as well as the bonus podcast that we do each week. So we'll talk more about Double Game Week 25 on our Thursday evening pod. But Brandon, I just, looking ahead one last time here to 25. I mean, can you see are there any, I feel like this is a question that often comes up in these double game weeks. Are there any single game week players that you would consider? Is there anyone that is, because there are some pretty solid matches out there for the single game weekers, right? And I guess we just kind of, like Arsenal away to Brentford. That feels like
Burnley.
Burnley, excuse me. It feels like there'd be a real legitimate conversation around whether you should captain Saka for a match like that, and it feels like that's kind of off the table now.
That fixture does stand out to me as it could be another big scorer for Arsenal fantasy assets. But the perpetual problem with them is, and we saw that against West Ham, is they just spread all the fantasy points around. I mean, I'm thrilled, ecstatic even as a Saka owner, but Odegaard got his points, Rice got his points, almost every defender. I think Ben White ended up with an assist. Like almost every defender, had an attacking return.
That's a very shady assist for him. It was the ball just kept rolling, but it's like I don't know. Maybe there was a dummy there. I need to rewatch it. It felt like Odegaard just didn't get to the ball, and then Rice got it. But whatever. Right. I mean, it's fantasy. It's fine.
It's all good, man. So I guess if you didn't already have Saka, then maybe you go get him at last, because Arsenal are just going to be in a groove while we negotiate the doubles and the blanks, and we won't have to worry about our Arsenal assets at all, which is nice.
Yeah, it is. I know part of me is I suppose I could have kept the faith with Odegaard. It was just hard after all of those blanks. And you just don't want to be too results dependent. I mean, did I lose points in that transfer? Yes. Did I make what I think was the right decision? Yes. And so as long as you feel, I feel good about the decision. So I'm going to try not to kind of get too caught up in the actual.
It's not over yet. I mean, I think you brought in Jota for the appealing Burnley fixture, but the double most importantly.
Yeah, I think the moments of frustration for me come when I make a transfer out of annoyance. Like I'm
Yeah.
annoyed they haven't returned, and so I'm going to drop them, right? And those are the ones that tend to be the mistake. Just looking at the fixtures, though, I will say, Man City. So they play on Tuesday, and then they play the evening match on Saturday, right? I mean, it's 12:30 U.S. time, but five. So it's a late the late match on Saturday, and then they play again on Tuesday. So it's a lot of matches, right? It's 3 matches in 8 days for Man City, and they have a lot of squad depth. There's a lot of rotation, so I really think it's really important to, if you don't have 3 Man City players, or even in my case, there's still a possibility that I would get cute, right, and sort of possibly try to find a way to bring in KDB and turn Alvarez into Darwin, right? And like if Alvarez plays the full 90 on Tuesday in Copenhagen, I have to feel not great about his chances for starting at least one of these 2 matches. And if Holland or if KDB is benched again, the thing is, I don't think we will see KDB benched now, right? Because I don't know why. It just seems unlikely that you would need to bench him 2 consecutive matches, right? So that I think people who own KDB are in a slightly tricky spot now, right? Because I think he starts on Tuesday, like this coming Tuesday, and then is benched in at least one of the 2 matches in Gameweek 25. And so I think I think it's and the reason I bring this up, I mean, it's just interesting to think about, and B, it really is tricky, I think, to figure out if there are any alternatives to Holland for the Game Week 25 captaincy, right? Is there anybody, like, if you just want to be a little bit different, right, and just go like a little off the map, are there options on Man City? Are there options on Liverpool? I think Darwin, to me, it would be like way too crazy to go Darwin over Holland. Jota, I could at least maybe see. Foden, I mean, I don't know. Foden probably has a good chance of starting both the matches, right? So maybe he's like a slightly different captain option. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
triple captain anyone, but Holland.
Yeah, Holland. Yeah, the penalties are something I think to definitely consider on a triple captaincy, which is why Jota feels okay just as a captaincy, but not a triple one. I wonder
Yeah,
if you really want to jumpstart your season, you're like lagging and you're not happy with your overall rank, to save the triple captain and to just try to fade Holland and go for a Liverpool captain option like Jota. And I think Jota's consistency of
yeah,
fantasy returns match week to match week is what augurs for him.
yeah,
And
yeah,
these fixtures for Liverpool are so enticing. We Brentford and then hosting Luton. Now, if the Liverpool went to Kenilworth Road and had a tougher match against them, but I think that's a bit of a home and away situation. So
yeah,
I think you could see Jota scoring at the same
yeah.
level as Holland this week.
I think you could. And I'll be full disclosure. I will be captaining Holland, and in fact, I will almost certainly be triple captaining Holland this week.
You
But
love a
I
thought
know that.
exercise, though, Josh.
Well, exactly, because I think that there are people who just don't want to do that, right? For one reason or another, right? I mean, not always because, and partially sometimes it's because there are people who just, the fun of the game is to be a little bit different, right? And sort of consider some possibilities. So I think if I think Foden would be somebody, maybe just because he's so funny because it's. I mean, we saw in the Everton match. It felt like he didn't touch the ball. Like I feel like I didn't see. I think he played the full 90, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he got subbed off late, but
He was pulling the strings, man.
yeah, the guy behind the guy behind the guy. Yeah, pulling the strings in a match where Man City got 2 shots. So I don't know what that's I don't know what that says about his awesome string. I mean, I guess they had probably more shots than that. 2 shots on target anyway. I thought Doku was whatever. Like it was fine. He wasn't really
Wow.
doing much once he got the
Wow.
ball on the left. But
He
I mean,
he wasn't doing much. He was absolutely roasting the entire
yeah,
left
and
side of the pitch.
every shot was blocked. I don't,
Yeah,
it's
you
like
can't be so results
throw a ball
oriented,
in.
though.
Yeah, but I mean, like throw a box in that somebody, like, if every time you get in the corner, you're just putting a ball in that like immediately gets booted away. I don't know,
No,
like what
I
value
don't
that
see it
is.
that way. You're stretching the defense and you're changing the shape. there and bringing other players into it, and you're creating an overload on one side of the pitch
Well,
or the other. And
that is true. I don't
as
know.
far as a fantasy asset, I mean, Doko just ain't it. I would agree with you on that front.
Sure. Yeah, a little too yeah, like a little bit like Grealish last year, right? Kind of
Yeah,
the same thing where Grealish got tons of minutes and it didn't really turn into a fantasy asset. So yeah, I think we're still in the same spot. I think that you could make an argument for I mean Ake, is there any would you consider Ake? Is he like
yeah,
yeah, is
yeah.
he a one maybe?
He's the one consistent starter, and he's I guess he's like the only outlet for a Man City defender who gets attacking returns. There is rotation now with the fullbacks. Guardiola has never been a totally consistent starter, and Walker is suddenly, after all the news stories about him, is become a risk. Akanji finally gets a start and doesn't even make it to the
55
60th
minutes or yeah, yeah,
It's just like
classic crap.
totally brutal,
Yeah.
though. I can't imagine anyone has a kanji in their fantasy team. Please sound off in the
No.
YouTube
I
chat
think
if you want.
Ake. I think Ake is the only one you could really trust. I think that with all this Kyle Walker, it's just not worth the risk now. Ederson not worth the transfer. Um, yeah, it's tricky. I think I don't know. I Alvarez dropping Alvarez is not like at the top of my like. It's not something I want to do, but it might end up being the best move. I just need to think a little. I need to spend the next couple of days thinking through what I want to how I can make them because I just don't want to be in a situation where I go all in 25 and then 26 rolls around and it's like absolute chaos, right? And I'm just like, oh my god, I need at least a -8 to field even a full 11 here. And maybe, yeah, honestly, maybe the answer is you just field 10 players, right? I mean, God, how many times this season have I had
Yeah.
10 defenders or what felt like 10 players because I got a 0 from a defender, right? That happens practically every week so far this season. So, so I'm not overly worried about that. Any other kind of final thoughts here, Brandon, before we end this
I think
conversation?
I think just jumping off of what you just said there, don't sacrifice your investment in this double game week just because you're afraid of the who blanks in
The
game week
26,
26.
sure,
Because I think what you feel like you might lose in game week 26 is nothing compared to what you could gain with the
yeah,
doubles in game week
yeah,
25. These are the two best
yeah.
teams with best attack. Well, listen, I don't I can't offend Arsenal supporters. There's two of the best teams in Liverpool in City coming into game week
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
This is catnip. And then yeah, you pulled up
Yep.
here the fixtures for game week 26. I think with blanks, you could just look at how could you take current superstars in your fantasy team to just totally maximize 26 even with like 9 players. You hit the captaincy. Like if we captain Holland and he gets a brace against Bournemouth in game week 26, you'll do fine. You will probably get a green arrow through game
Yeah.
week 26.
All
So
right. Well,
that's I'm not worried. I'm not stressed. I'm too
ooh, and I just
stressed. I'm too
realized
blessed to be stressed, man.
we have a late game in game week 26 as well. Oh, that's fun. That's
Ooh, a
I
good
wish they
one
did that
too.
more often. I want more evening, like late night, like weekend matches like this. Just selfishly, as an American, there's nothing like a 3 p.m. I mean, I know 3 p.m. is still pretty early, but like there's no the NFL is gone. I think this next weekend it's going to be NBA All Star Weekend. Oh, actually, no, this is 2 weekends from now. But yeah, we're entering a period, Brand, where the Premier League can be the ascendant league. Okay, NFL's done, college football's done. NCAA tournament hasn't started yet. At least I'm talking about America here. And NBA playoffs don't start for a couple more months still. So let's get, we've got a nice run also of weekend matches before the next international break. So a lot to come. I'm excited. I'm excited about 25. I'm excited about, I'm just feeling good about the game. We all got through January. Matches are back, weekend matches. So good luck to anybody who has Palmer, including both of us, in 20 for the final match 24 tomorrow. I suppose there are some other. I saw a couple. There's a handful of Malo, Gusto, etc. I mean, you were tripled up fairly
Yeah.
recently. I mean, just
Yep.
one for you though tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm a recover boring Sterling and Colwill owner, and that's
Yep.
fine, and that's good.
It's good.
Yeah, Chelsea just like a totally fascinating club this season. I'm watching with interest.
All right. Well, let's sign off here. But Brendan, before we do you want to thank our producer patrons?
Yes, as always, you can support the cheaters at patreon.com/always cheating. We'd like to thank our top producer patrons, Mike DePietro, Trevor Ingerson, our buddy Chris Howell, Bob Ascoon, James Holland, Dave Wigner, Lodal, Nick Wright, Lazarus Yanos, Jesse Halstead, Bruce Kerr, Brian Chin, Blair Jacobson, Todd Byerly, Andy Portlock at FPL Merch, Kerry Swanson, Jefferson Turner, Buffalo Wild Mings, Francis Moore, Sam Shower, Caleb Robbie, Vulgar Paulson Kruger, Alex Holcomb, James Keatley, the Saint, Bob Fox, Craig Jackson, Shalin F. Kadakia, Terrence O'Donnell, Heath Cram, Thomas Tislov, Noah Louise, Travis Grant, Linus Vennerstrom, Dan Parsons, James C., Matthew Skinner, Fro Jacobson, Brennan, Daniel Hart, Lolly, Ben Coombs, Eric Kite, Gareth H., Rune Sandberg. Rate, review, subscribe to Always Cheating wherever you get your podcasts. We're now doing these live on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who joined us on the YouTube live. And yeah, we want to buy the whole YouTube a Coke right now. We'll be doing these more frequently. We record Sundays, so watch out for our social media. Basically go to Twitter if you want the link, or go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/@alwayscheating, where you can watch this post facto anyway to see our faces. And the pod will continue to roll out as it always does on our podcast stream.
We're still up. Yeah, exactly. We're still podcasts first, but if we're going to record these, might as well do them on the YouTube while we're doing it too, just for people who prefer that experience.
Yeah, and listen, just to show that we interact with the chat, shout out to Whales of Bitcoin, who had Nathan Ake for Game Week 24. We love it. We love to see that kind of excitement in the chat. Thanks again, Josh. I will see you on Thursday for our Patreon pod.
Sounds good. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.